Hello and good evening. Thanks for coming, everyone. I'm really excited to introduce to you our very own Sebastian Klapdor, or Basti, as we know him. He's our new CDO for Vistaprint. He joined several months ago, and he's here to talk about data and how to use data in the best possible way for a multi-billion business and company. So enjoy, and over to you, Basti.
Thanks so much, Dalibor. Yeah, welcome everyone. I'm very excited to be here. As Dalibor said, I'm Basti Klapdor. I'm the new Chief Data Officer at Vistaprint. And again, I'm super excited to be here today and talk about my vision and how I want to really make Vistaprint into one of the most data-centric and data-driven companies on the world. So I'll talk a little bit about the opportunity that I generally see in e-commerce and data. I'll talk a little bit about the specific use cases for Vistaprint, and also how my organization, which I'm building on Vistaprint, should unlock that value. Hey, and let's also make it very interactive. I know we can have some time for questions at the end, but also if you have a question in between, just ask and we can take time to discuss, but we will also have time at the end for a dedicated Q&A. Cool, okay, let's get started. So a little bit about myself. As you already can see, data rocks. I love to play music and play the guitar in a couple of bands, and besides that, I really love to work on data products. I have been at McKinsey for 12 years, a partner at McKinsey, where I was actually part of the new McKinsey. So who knows McKinsey here? Check. Okay, so McKinsey is around about half of the people. So McKinsey is a management consultancy company. And typically, you know, McKinsey exists for 70, 80 years, and typically what management consultants would do is write big strategy papers. So they come to clients and say, hey, how can we get into a new market? And then we write a big strategy and then we hand it over. This is the old McKinsey. There's also new McKinsey, where that consulting company started hiring data engineers, software engineers, architects, UX designers, agile coaches, and where we would bring all of them to the clients and build MLPs, build products that solve certain analytical problems, that are UX related, that are design thinking related, and that's really what I did. I worked for the new McKinsey building digital and analytics products for clients, and I did that across industries, both in B2C, e-commerce, as well as also in B2B. I did cover, a lot of commercial use cases. So, for example, I was at McKinsey the global lead for dynamic pricing. I kind of did the first ever project on dynamic pricing, and then we rolled it out. We also did it for one client here, e-commerce client in Prague, which I enjoyed also very much. So I found pricing a really cool topic. But then again, I also expanded it to promotions, also to internal analytics, HR analytics, predictive maintenance of machines. So basically the logic is always the same. And I'll talk about that in a second. But that's about me. I'm married, I have 2 kids, small kids, so I'm happy that I'm at Vistaprint and don't need to travel so crazy anymore like at McKinsey, where all the time, everywhere. Now I'm at least in Prague, Barcelona and Boston, only 3 locations left, which are the main hubs of Vistaprint. Cool. What I want to cover today, it's the why, the what, and the how. So why? Why is it now time for Vistaprint to really switch the gears and invest into data and analytics, which is not really a new push. I mean, this role of the CDO at Vistaprint was really just created 3 months ago. So I'm the first. We could call it FCDO, the first generation CDO at Vistaprint. So there has no one before, so it's a really cool job of building up a new team that does analytics and data at Vistaprint. So that's the why. Then the what kind of are the key opportunities I see for Vistaprint? What are the key use cases for data and analytics in a 1.5 billion e-commerce business? And then how? So how do we capture that opportunity? How do we set up the organization? How do we set up the interactions? How do we staff the product teams to unlock the value from analytics? Cool, so let's obviously start with why, and it's all about data, right? And what you can see here, I researched 3 facts. Why is data everywhere, right? What you can see is by 2020, and you're already up there will be 21 billion connected devices in the global IoT grid, Internet of Things grid. So basically, you have devices everywhere that generate data all the time. So this is crazy. Then in the middle, I think very important, you also start to have actually processing power, and not only CPU but also GPU now, to process that data on scale. And what is really interesting is that Moore's law, so that was the law that Gordon Moore, I think, has invented. He was the Intel CEO, that basically the number of transistors on a die doubles every 2 years, and that still holds for the last 50 or 60 years. It's incredible. So it goes exponentially up, basically. So much more computing power. And that means then that we create each day this number with that many zeros. So 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every day. That means that 90% of the data which exists on the world, 90% of the data which exists on the world has been produced only in the last 2 years. It's incredible, right? So it's really also going exponentially up. How much data we can use to run the business, to drive new ideas, to develop new products, and all of that. And then now there is one interesting, also obviously, fact, that data has to be stored somewhere, right? And data storage was pretty expensive. So I looked that number up before that talk today. In 1995, how much do you think was the cost to store 500 gigabytes of data? So what was the cost to store 500 gigabytes of data in 1995, the annual cost? Any number? Again? Okay, and what would be the US dollar value of that? I mean, there were crowns and stuff. How many crowns is a US dollar? 4? $1, 20 pounds, okay. Can anybody make the math how much that would then be for 500 gigabytes? Okay, I'll tell you the number. 500 gigabytes in 1995 was 350,000 US dollars to store it. Yeah? Now, what is the cost to store 500 gigabytes for 1 year today? What do you think in US dollars? Any number, just shoot a number. $50, $1,000, 50. It's 1 cent. 1 cent. This is incredible. Just imagine that, right? It doesn't cost any more to store the data, to have it available, right? We store it in the cloud. It's available. It's not on tapes, which a robot needs to pick up, from a tray and put into a system. It's just available on demand. So that's the really key underlying drivers. Quick double click on the data on the middle one. Anybody knows what that is? It's a pretty new thing. 3 months old. It's the first quantum chip that really works, and it's designed by Google. It's the Google Sycamore chip, and I think almost to the day, 3 months ago, they have declared quantum supremacy. So that means basically that a quantum computer is able to solve a problem which a regular computer would not be able to solve, or not be able to solve in a reasonable time. So I think that thing solved something in 12 minutes, which a regular computer needs 10,000 years. So just imagine that, as the next S-curve, where we can put all the data through that machine, right, or through the successors of that machine. Just imagine what would be possible. So that's incredible, and what that enables in the end is completely new business models, right? And first companies that started, and we all know these companies, and all of these companies are built on data and tech, and they don't actually have any big capex, right? Uber is the world's largest taxi company. They don't own a single taxi, right? Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation company, they don't own a single hotel bedroom, right? And you can go on and on, all of these companies. It's crazy, right? It's really tech companies built on data and technology, and that's fueled through these three trends, the three big trends I've just shown. Now, the question is obviously always now looking forward, what will be the next big thing, the disruption that will come, right? Will it be 3D printing? Will it be robotics? Will it be augmented reality, machine learning? Yeah, it's always a big question what will come here, right? And I want to make a quick time jump with you into the year of 1911 into New York. Of 1911. Let me switch to YouTube. Let's watch. As you see, I'm already running out of content. That's why we are switching to YouTube now. Okay, it's Trip Through New York, 1911. Okay, that does not work super good. I can see it super nice here. Okay. Get that fixed. Screen. Project. Duplicate. There it is. Okay, cool. So what you see here is basically a movie when people arrive in New York in the year of 1911. Now let's start it. So you see these horse carriages here. People arrive on a steamship into the harbor of New York, and then they disembark the ship. I jump a little bit. Again, it's a steamship. You can see it here. I have a big steam pile. And then what they do is obviously they go into a horse carriage, go into the city, right? That's how the streets look like. Funny clothes. Yeah, another street picture. And I jump a little bit more. Another street. Again, a horse carriage. Now watch. Something's happening. Stop here. Did you see what was happening? What did you see? You're nodding. Exactly. There were cars. Suddenly there were cars. Yeah. And so you spotted the kind of not obvious thing, right? The big innovation which was going on, right? In which, see, getting back here, cool. Which many people didn't want even to believe. Now, this is from 1911. This is an advertising from a horse harness maker. Yeah, so putting the harnesses on the horses. It says, hey, why do you want to buy a car? This is incredible. Horse versus automotive, right? For you discard your horse, think about what you need to put into a car. You need to buy fuel. You need to repair it. You need to do all of that stuff. It's really bad. Never buy a car. Don't think about it. Could be actually from today, right? As cars are getting, again, a really, really bad reputation. So maybe this guy was super visionary, but he was unfortunately just 100 years too early, so the cars obviously made a really big invention here. And probably that guy went out of business. Yeah? So, but it's really sticking to the old thing, not seeing what's obvious, right? And so the question is not, will it be robotics, will it be big data, machine learning, augmented learning? It's just, kind of what is all of that universe, what's relevant to us, and how can we use that to build better products, right? And some more cool quotes I looked up, how wrong people can be in spotting that, by the way. There is a famous quote, I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers. Anybody who knows who said that? Exactly, Thomas J. Watson, the IBM CEO at the time, pretty cool. Then the next one, the cell phone penetration in the US by 2000 will be 900,000 subscribers. Actually, it's not only Thomas Watson who can be wrong, that McKinsey said that. former employer. And the actual number of subscribers, I have it in here, I just need to look it up, it's ridiculous. The actual number of subscribers was 109 million versus 900,000 predicted. So really again, not being able to spot that kind of massive opportunity, right? And then I want to show you one last thing here, one more example of a prediction that really went wrong. These are two cover pages from the same months in the year of 27, November 2007. So on the one hand side here, Forbes Magazine, Nokia, 1 billion customers. Can anyone catch the cell phone king? Yeah. In the same month of that Nokia title page, then look at that. Best inventions of 2007. There was the iPhone, right? And just a couple of years after that, Nokia didn't, stop existing basically, building phones. So it's really, being at this edge of innovation and spotting the opportunities you see there. And we're just at the start, literally at the start, on the verge of seeing what we can do with data and analytics. Now, again, why is that? Very briefly, I already said there's this two curves which run against each other. Yeah? One curve is really that curve where you see, hey, tumbling costs of data storage and processing, and that's going down exponentially. Yeah? And then exponentially increasing basically is the data availability, which enables all of these business models. Yeah? And then pair that with all the cool mathematical stuff you can do, right? New mathematical models, machine learning, deep learning, all of that stuff. And that massively then, drives uplift for the business. One example, I always use that in my McKinsey life to explain the power of analytics. Too cool, an output, on the left-hand side. So this is an output, basically, of a mortgage model that predicts whether, a mortgage customer will default or not. And that model is used by a bank to decide, okay, will I give that customer a mortgage, yes or no? Now, typically the bank used basically typical traditional statistics methods, econometrics, to force fit a line through that data set, to the historic data set. Yeah? So looking at that, basically that line gets it somehow right. Yeah? So all the green stuff is the default. Yeah? So when customers really defaulted, and the blue stuff is no default. But still, there are some customers in here which still default. You wouldn't have predicted that, and there's a ton of blue stuff out here, customers which actually are not defaulting, and you were not able to give them a mortgage and make business with them. So actually pretty bad fit of that curve. Yeah? So now if you take machine learning, right, there's no more force fitting. The machine learns and basically divides that into cells. There's a tree behind it, and then very nicely can outline basically exactly these areas and learn from that, right? So much higher accuracy. 98% versus 78%. And then that specific customer outlined here, in that case wouldn't get a mortgage, and in this case gets a mortgage. Yeah? So pretty cool new business and a new cool customer experience. Now, looking at that, right, again, we can extend that now in e-commerce to the entire value chain. That's what we're doing now at Vistaprint, and this is so cool. Yeah? So obviously, there's many use cases in operations we can focus on. So it's from design, for example, how people design the products on our page. It's the manufacturing, it's end-to-end planning, logistics, supply chain optimization, predictive maintenance of the machines. We can take the sensor data of our printing presses, basically, and then use that telemetry data in real time to predict when components in these presses will fail. And then we send someone before it fails. Which is really cool. We can also optimize the downtimes because we already know, hey, something will fail in here, and then we already proactively replace a certain component in that printer device when we anyways want to do maintenance, or we do it when there's no seasonality. So then that's all operations. Then we go into commercial. If you can think about it, there's digital marketing, attribution modeling. We can better target customers on the web, right, across different channels. We can optimize the offers for them through end-to-end personalization. We can adjust the prices in real time. When I joined Vistaprint 1 year ago as a McKinsey consultant, because we did a project on dynamic pricing, Vistaprint was literally changing the prices once a year for 10% of the product with 30 people sitting in Barcelona, or 20 people. So that's not really top-notch for an e-commerce company, right? That should go bam automatically on a click of one button, fully data-driven and updated. So again, there's a ton of optimization here. Also, one other really cool thing is digital customer care. You can now, in real time, understand the sentiment from your customers live talking to. So Amazon Connect, Amazon Office is basically a package for call centers where you can, the call center agent actually sees in real time, okay, and how is the customer now, in which mood is he? Happy, not happy, is he getting angry, and that machine is able to predict that before actually a human being can sense that, and it's sensing that from the voice, from the tone, from the speed, from all of that, putting that together, and then providing a prediction of customer mood in real time to the call center agent and predicting with a proposed action how to handle that. So it's incredible. And then obviously there's also a ton of value on the support functions in the finance domain. You could use advanced analytics for financial planning and accounting. You can use advanced analytics for HR. We want to hire many people at Vistaprint now for the next year, especially in data analytics, as we are building up this area. Who is screening all these CVs? So nowadays companies are starting to use AI to screen CVs automatically and train. You need to train that first. And once it's trained, it has a pretty good already pre-screened rate. So again, impact also here on internal use cases, impact basically everywhere. Now, if you look again outside a little bit in the industry, companies do seem, and that's again a little bit from my McKinsey history, they recognize actually the disruption of data and analytics, but they struggle, they're not able to put that into their organization and get these analytics products up to scale, get the real benefit out of that. Now, some more questions for you. How many of the companies do you think recognize the disruption and that data and analytics will bring to the industry? Just shoot me a number. How many of the companies do understand already that data will be disruptive? 70? 70%? 50%? One more number? Somebody low number? 10%? Okay. Yeah, actually, look at that. It is 44% only, right? Only 44%, and that survey is from last year, do understand how big the disruption is for the industry. So, how many do you think have defined analytics roadmap in place to build a competitive advantage out of data? How many companies do you think? Yeah. So there's a 7 inside that number. There's a 7, you said 70 in the beginning. I said there's a 7 also inside of that number.
No, the less than 10% of that 44%.
Yeah, it's 17% basically out of that 100 base. Now, and how many do you think are really able to integrate the analytics in their day-to-day decision making? I can reveal it, it's only 13%. So basically only 1 out of 10 companies is really able to integrate, from all that funnel to really integrate data into day-to-day decision making. And that's exactly what I want to drive at Vistaprint. Build scalable data products that are part of the everyday, day-to-day decision making at Vistaprint, and that help the people that need to make decisions in their day-to-day lives, that run the operational business to make better decisions based on data and analytics. And that's my big vision. Because if you are able to do that, what you can see is there's a huge financial uplift. And here, basically, there are 2 groups of companies. One is the analytics leaders who are really good and embedding that. That's basically the 13% versus the rest of the companies. And you can see 4 times higher growth and twice as much of a higher EBITDA growth. So as you can see, companies who are able to embed that are just much more successful. And again, my vision is to do that for Vistaprint. And I obviously have put together a mission statement, and the mission statement for me and my team is to make Vistaprint, to turn that into one of the most iconic data and analytics-driven e-commerce companies in the world. So on the same side as the Googles, the Facebooks, the Zalandos, and all of these Wayfairs, and all of these top-notch data and tech players in the world. How I'm going to do that? The plan is to obviously Or why? First, why I'm going to do that basically is to enable a jaw-dropping customer experience, because that analytics is not only to drive financial value, but really to wow our customers through the things I've said, like real-time personalization, really cool offers, really cool experience, right? And this is all data-driven. Obviously, then secondly, to really drive profitable growth with analytics capabilities, and then what is super important to get there is attract and retain top-notch analytics talent. So my mission, my personal mission is also that if a data scientist or a data engineer or a software engineer has a choice between, do I go to Google, do I go to Vistaprint? Of course, Vistaprint. Yeah, that's at least my mission. Yeah. Cool. So that's the vision, and that's the why. Now, what are very specific opportunities along the Vistaprint value chain to harness from data and analytics? Now, what we've done is basically the big list of use cases you've seen on the previous page. We've put that, now we prioritized that, sorted it, and I've created in my organization 5 data domains basically. And the goal is to really build scalable data products, and I'll talk about what a data product is in a second. And they sit within the domains. And there's a leader for each of the domains, and the domains basically, the leader set the strategic vision for their domain in terms of they are out there, they understand what is the great stuff happening on the market, what do we need to do, what are competitors doing, right? What data products do we need to build to be top-notch, right, in that domain. Now, the first 5 domains we came up with are pricing, promotion, personalization. So these are all the products around automatically setting our list prices, automatically helping us to determine which promotion we should do for which customers. Vistaprint comes from a world, and that world still exists to some part, where we always said, hey, there are certain days and months you get 50% on everything, and everybody gets 50% on everything, and we do that all the time. It's almost like Vistaprint is on drugs. Yeah? We are on drugs, and we need to give these discounts to stimulate our sales, right? And by giving more discounts, we create more sales, more discounts, and more Google advertising to drive more traffic to more discounts. It's like, and you know what's happening, obviously, is yes, you grow, but you will grow less and less profitable, right? Because your margins will grow. Now, what the goal of the key products in that domain is basically to be much more targeted, to say, hey, for you, this product might be relevant, and you get today 20% off because you're such a loyal customer. Yeah? For you, this product might be relevant. For you, this product is great, and you get a cross-sell voucher for something like this, right? So this is really all in that domain. Then the second domain is channel platform. This is about driving,
Maybe a stupid question, but who is the main Vistaprint customer?
Yeah.
I'm not really.
Thank you for that question. There you can see that I'm new to Vistaprint. I should put in the slide to introduce Vistaprint actually in the beginning. Yeah, so Vistaprint is, we are a 1.5 billion company and the global leader in mass customization for printing products. And the key customers are big micro businesses basically. And our mission is to help micro businesses grow. So what we do is, for example, micro business could be the hairdresser, could be the dog walker, could be shops, the coffee shop. And obviously it's also going a little bit into bigger, higher value segments, the more bigger B2B customers, but it's really geared toward that small enterprises basically, startups, typically also people who work here in Impact Hub basically. And the mission is to help them grow through personalized top-notch marketing materials that's starting from business cards, flyers, posters, these banners, roll-up banners, Windows banners, car magnets, everything you can print on, bottles, cups, all of that. Then we also do offer digital services, so you can create your website through us. And the plan is now to extend also the value proposition much more into design services, basically, to help customers design their own logos and all of that, which they can already do today on the website with support from our customer service. It's pretty cool actually. You can get a live session, it's called live design. If you have a hard time designing your business card, then you can hit live design, and then you will talk to somebody while that person is helping you to design your card. And you say, oh no, move it left, right, different logo. It's pretty cool. Now that's our key customers. about 80% of the customers. The other 20% are consumer customers, where we have the typical consumer products of wedding anniversary cards, Christmas cards, invitation cards, and all of that. So that's the 20% consumer business. Now, but one thing, last thing to add, also our B2B customers very much behave like typical consumers in the e-commerce sector, right? It's very much a consumer shopping behavior. It's not a big B2B company or like B2B retailer where you don't have any prices on the website, where people would need to log in, that you see the personal prices. It's very much like a B2C consumer company. Then channel platform is all around digital advertising, optimizing our spend, better targeting certain customers across channels rather than doing some Google advertising and some display advertising, trying to find specific segments across all of these channels and target them specifically. That's part of channel platform, and then it's also to use the latest top-notch methods to optimize each of the channels. For example, in Google, you can nowadays use machine learning based optimizations to set the price of the bids for the Google advertisers. And if you use these machine learning models, you can achieve a much higher efficiency. They can exactly say, for that keyword and for that customer, I should bid that much and not more. So that's pretty cool. Then there's a third domain, we call it customer and business performance modeling. And in this domain, we build all the underlying core models that are working for all the other data products. For example, forecasting models. For example, media mix models that tells us the efficiencies of our overall media channels, basically. So for each dollar advertising we spend on TV, the ROI is X dollars of profit, basically. And then also things like customer lifetime models, that's also part of that domain, which again helps products in the other domains to be better for personalization, for marketing spend, for bidding in the digital domain. Then also a pretty cool domain is manufacturing and supply chain. That's getting really physical, so you can touch and feel stuff. That's on the one hand side, better forecasting processes for our, connecting our website basically real time to the manufacturing, updating their monthly plans, really cool forecasts based on historic data, on trends we can see, but also things like, again, predictive maintenance, which I talked about, right, which I found really cool. Nowadays, we are even starting to build our own sensors, IoT sensors. You can just put on these machines with a magnet, bam, and then there are 5 sensors that come out of that IoT sensor basically, and there's a vibration sensor, there's a temperature sensor, there's a humidity sensor, there are 3 other sensors, and you plug them to the machines, you glue them on the machines, and bam, in an instant you have live telemetry data from these printing presses. And you do that 10 times for each of the printing press, and then you have already pretty cool real-time data stream. And these things directly stream via 3G or 4G into the cloud. So in real time the data available and can build these models. And then finally, one last domain, which is also really important for me, is end-to-end customer experience. That's really about understanding all of the customer interaction, all of the interactions a customer has, and putting it together with all of the feedback that the customer has at different points. So they fill out surveys. We are talking to them in our customer care center. We can use this call data, in real time to again improve our operations. And the key idea is here basically to already predict that things will go wrong. Okay, we already see some operational KPIs decreasing. So, for example, the credit rate for a certain product goes up. Credit rate means we refund the product. Customers call in and say, product is bad, I want to refund, and if you see that in the future, I want to directly have an algorithm take that product off the page right away, not to dissatisfy the customer. Another example of a real-time monitoring system here, I have to tell it, it's from a new colleague of mine from Amazon. When he started in Amazon, he was 9 years, he was also a McKinsey colleague. He started in Amazon, and then in his first month, he was responsible in Germany for the CD and DVD category. To manage that. So, and then in his first month, suddenly, on a Saturday morning, he gets an email And it says an automated email, automated warning email, so Amazon already had that 9 years ago. Hey, dear watch out, your orders for a product XYZ, for a certain video game, are just going through the roof. You have already, I think he had already at the time 20,000 orders for that certain CD, and typically you would expect 20 orders on that day, and not 20,000. And then he checked, okay, somebody did a pricing mistake, So, so instead of putting it at €23.99, it was €2.39, So that was a price search engine, it went viral on social media, everybody bought that. Now, then he's not coming from McKinsey, I'm so clever, what I just do is, I stop it right away, and all the products that have not been shipped, I just cancel the orders, because legally, you can always say, hey, I'm not, in Germany at least, I don't know how the legislation here is in the Czech Republic, in Germany, if there's an error, if there's a mistake, a human error, you can always cancel orders because of that. So that's what he did, he cancelled, I think 19,000 out of these 20,000 orders, which have not been shipped, and he did that on the same Saturday. And then, like 2 hours later, he got a call from his boss, he's the German country manager, saying, hey Florian, actually, it's interesting, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm proud, I found out, I canceled 19,000 orders, saved a ton of money for the company. And then he said, no, Florian, this is completely wrong. You do it the other way around. You will ship every freaking video game, because we will never let our customers down for mistakes on our behalf. So you will ship all of these CDs at that price, and by the way, your kind of annual target will not change, but you still have 2 months to hit your annual target. So obviously he never hit that annual target, but kind of that's the philosophy, right, of Amazon, which I think I also really want to instill at Vistaprint, this really customer-centric thinking, right, and really this don't let the customers come down, but also have real-time systems that warn you if something goes crazy. And obviously they had 2 real-time systems. One for Florian, but also one for his boss, if somebody cancels 19,000 orders. So it's pretty cool. So that's end-to-end customer experience. So what's next? So I said that already. What's actually a data product, right? I keep all the time he talks about data products. What is this actually? We found a definition. It's a self-contained entity consuming and processing data as input to generate actionable output for a specific use case. Very theoretically, we try to make it a little bit more actionable. So what it could be, anything from a really big software solution, like an end-to-end tool. For example, a pricing tool, which we are building. It has a user interface for somebody internally to manage the prices, set it. It has an algorithm below that generates the new prices, but it also has obviously all the data pipes connected to our eCommerce stack. And also the kind of, getting all the inputs in from external sources, from internal sources to generate the right prices. That's a full stack tool. That's really big. But also, data product could be something like a dashboard. Like a dashboard that people can take a look into and see kind of, where am I standing with my business? It helps me to drive better business decisions. It could be also, in the end, an algorithm which is just running in the backend, right? It could be just a model that produces forecasts and directly feeds them into a logistics planning system. That could be also data product, right? And also data product could be just a simple table. It could be a simple table with outputs that are meaningful to answer a business question. So it's a pretty broad definition. But I think what is important, it should create an actionable output for a specific use case. Now, I just want to give one example, one deep dive here for the pricing data product we've built, the price setting data product. What you typically do is, you start really, and that's also the way of working I want to instill at Vistaprint. We do it in sprints, and we do it agile, and we do it especially with the mindset of making small increments. So we start really understanding what's the business problem. Before we start building any data lakes or foundations or anything in the backend, let's understand what is the pain point in the business and why are they, why do they need help basically. So that's the first step. And then basically it's really about, okay, cool, we develop an approach, we develop a mathematical model behind it, we we know now what data we need, right? And then we develop the first POC, and what we then do is basically pilot test it, yeah. And that's what we did with pricing, and just after 6 weeks, basically, we had the test live on a couple categories in the US market, and just were, having new prices for our products. And then we let it run for a certain time, and then measuring, obviously, doing A/B testing, incremental testing, measuring the outputs, basically. And then after that POC, after 3 months, the POC was complete, and we were clearly able that we can generate value through data. So there was clear uplift in customer satisfaction. There was an NPS score greater than 80 for the prices for the products that were priced basically with the new pricing algorithm. So super happy customers. There was a really big jump in contribution profit, because we were adjusting prices in a very reasonable way and realigning them to the competitors, so very fair prices. And obviously also internally it was fully optimized, it was fully automated, so people didn't need to manually check the stuff anymore. It was basically an algorithm doing the work. And we were able to do that and show that for a small scope within 3 months. And then we expanded to all the other categories. And that's kind of the thinking I want to instill, is like really show the value of it with a small slice, with a small piece of scope, but show the value end to end. It can be then in the back end. Even, obviously it was not automated in the back end, right? So there was it was a terrible data pipe, it was terrible Excel things behind, it was just like, to be honest, it was shitty in the back end. But we wanted to invest into a big backend with 1,000 data pipes and all of that before we were not able to prove, hey, is it actually generating value for our customers and for our business, right? So and I think that's the mentality I want to instill, right? First prove the value, and then start increasing it, building the foundations, and building the tool over time. So that's just one example here. Let me jump now, after the deep dive in pricing, so that we also have a little bit time for questions, to the how. So how we are now planning actually to capture the opportunity, how are we setting up the organization, how are we freaking do that now to get that value out of the data and become one of the most important and iconic data-driven companies. I think one of the first most important things, which I have seen so many of my other clients in my 12 years at McKinsey, is that this role was missing in the analytics department. And that role is basically, we call them, here at McKinsey, I used to call them translators. It's basically people who can, on the one hand side, understand the business problem, talk to the business people, understand, hey, what are the pain points? Why is this, why are you failing? What's the issue? And then on the other side, take that knowledge back to the data science community and the analytics community and translate it into math and statistics and science and have a problem solving with the data science community. What would be the right methods? What would be the right tools to solve that problem? How we could answer this business problem? And that translator role, in my view, is and still is missing in many analytics departments of companies. I've seen so many analytics center of excellences fail. They were hiring the most brilliant data scientists and building the most beautiful model, but nobody was using it because these models were not built towards what is the business problem of the users in the company. That's why they were not able to scale it and bring it into the business. And that was mainly because of the missing translators, the translator role. And to be honest, my vision is also to make the broad business community at Vistaprint to help them grow and run capability building programs to make them also translator capable, right? So also somebody in marketing, in my view, in a tech company, somebody in marketing should be able to run an SQL query and get some data out of a system which he or she needs, right? I think in a tech company, I would love to see these kinds of talents, right? These analytics translators, even on the business side. Now, but you obviously don't need only these translators, but you need, as in a good racing team, many other roles to build these data products, right? So besides and they should be in one interdisciplinary team jointly building these products. Yeah. So whom do you need? You need a business domain expert. If you build a pricing pricing optimization product, it would be pretty good if you have somebody on a team who knows how to do pricing. That would be actually not a bad idea. Then obviously, very important role, it's so important, it's data engineering. Again, one big lesson from many clients I've worked with, they hired data scientists, they hired analytics people, and then these people, they all had to build all the data pipes into the systems. Issue number one is these people hate to do that. They just hate to do that, right? They hate it. So they want to build beautiful models, they want to use the latest stage neural networks, they hate to build data pipes. And the second big problem is they suck at it, right? So if you make them build data pipes, they build really shitty data pipes, right? And what then happens is, the models and the pipes they build, if somehow it then works out for the POC, then there comes the big moment of, I want to scale it, yeah? And then, you look at the code and say, oh, okay, gosh. You got to rewrite everything, yeah, to make it scalable, to make it performant, to make it, really work in our system, right? So that's why data engineering is super important, right, to have them on the team. And then data architect, make the data reusable in your company. Also, what I've seen so many times is, and to be honest, it's also like that at Vistaprint, because we have not invested in data governance. We're doing now, but we have not done previously. There's not a real data architecture, right? And people are really, whenever they are, building a new model or running new analysis, they are going into the data and rediscover everything from scratch. There's no documentation, there's no cataloging, there is nothing, right? So you need people that help you organize your data, to make it reusable and make the data engineers and the data scientists super fast.
So you mentioned you want to do the POC first,
yeah.
value, and now you're saying you want to do this floating
yeah.
job. How
yeah.
does it work together?
Yeah. Yeah, so very good question. So you need to have so what I'm doing is I'm doing parallel pathing. I'm having some people now ramping up on data governance and building the foundations. You just need to have it, right? As if you have a 100-story building, you just need an elevator. Yeah? I mean, you can put in stairs, okay, but it will just, everybody needs to walk up. You will have to have an elevator. So in this fashion, we are building up a data governance team that defines the data governance infrastructure and data domains, data stewardships, all of that in our company, and to make the data more usable and more reusable, basically, findable, accessible, interoperable, right? And this is basic work, foundation work we need to do. We do that, we start doing that. When we then build the actual POCs for the data products, we work in that agile mode. So we start just running a POC. And even the 6-week POC or the 3 months POC will be much faster if that data scientist on the POC team can look into a data cataloging tool, Colibra, Relation, whatever, and see, cool, perfect, that's the features I want to use, I can get them from here, that's the data lineage from this system down to this system, perfect, I just use it, perfect, that's how I can access it, here it is, right? It's really pick and pack. It's like, it's almost like if you're in a restaurant. I almost use that picture currently at Vistaprint and many of my other clients, you're a star chef in a restaurant and you want to create a new invention, create a new receipt, right? So typically what a chef would do, he would go to the fridge, take out the ingredients, I know where it is, take out the spices from here, put it together, and cool, it's there, right? Maybe it's a POC, it's not good at the moment, you need to refine it, make it better, and then you end up with a really good receipt and it's a really good dish. Currently, it's like this. I'm a star chef cook and I want to cook something new. I open the fridge, oh, it's empty. Okay, cool. Then I basically need to start raising chicken and I need to start raising cows and I need to grow some salad and you need to do that all over again. And before you're able to actually, you just wanted to cook, yeah? And that's, I think, building these foundations, these foundational infrastructures, that you have a supermarket where you can buy stuff, that you can go in and take the stuff you need, it's indexed, it's categorized, you exactly know, I want to have fruit, I go to the fruit section, I take it, put it into my food. So I think in that model, I want to run that and create that. And we gotta do that, as a basic foundational work. That will make POCs and the products faster.
Why analytics translator is not a data scientist, business expert?
I think yes, eventually yes, but you don't often, or like you don't always find these people in one role. So ideally, I would love to hire people who can do all these disciplines in one role. So ideally, I'm trying to hire data scientists who can do as well data engineering, who also are very good in a business perspective, you know, and who understand the business problems, who want to understand the business problems. Like that's my perfect scenario, and these are typically unicorns. They are very hard to find people who understand the data science deep, who can do data engineering in a very good computer science, who are computer engineers and have that background and who do that in a very good way, and who also understand the business problems. That's why typically it's easier to, if you find them, super, let me know, I'd love to hire them. But that's why you typically split up these roles into multiple roles. It's just easier to find people.
I heard about second revolution. I heard about a revolution that artificial intelligence will kill all the people which need analytic translator.
Maybe in some years, maybe in a few years, maybe in many years, it's very tough, again, as coming back to this example, to predict the future, right? I would say in the near future, it is not likely. I think in the near future, what I see is there are tools coming, AI tools, that help with feature selection, feature curation, so that makes the process of building data science models much more efficient, much faster, but it's in the end still a human being required to actually understand the business question, right? That comes back. I haven't found an AI logic so far that helps me to understand the business problem, right? And that's the key thing, right? We are not in a fully automated way where you could just, you know, again, you need to understand what you're solving for. What is the beast you're trying to tackle, right? And then, you know, I think AI is already coming and helping to make the process more efficient. But at this first step, this fundamental problem solving, what are we trying to solve? In my view, there is no AI yet there. I haven't seen it.
But I think it is anthropology or other science that not business. Business can be mathematically described, but anthropology not.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And now I think I'm trying, I'm understanding where you're leading. I think my teams, I would also love to have actually cross-disciplinary teams here. So I'm not only looking for mathematics as data scientists, I'm not looking at as McKinsey, for example. We had anthropologists, we had nuclear scientists, we had philosophical people, right? We had all of these people and putting them on the teams and building on these cross-functional teams to work on these problems. And I think it's a very good point because everybody brings a different perspective to it and enriches that, right? Will it be fully automated? Will it be fully taken over by a machine? I don't think yet, not at least in the next foreseeable future. At least, for these very complex tasks to solve problems. For tasks like running a car automated or having a plane in an automated way start and land, I think yes, but not, which is a very well-defined problem, right? But for these super complex problems, it's very tough. There was also another question.
So I understand you tried Vistaprint in 2019, right? And my question is, how do you plan to integrate the new data science teams with the already existing teams, let's say of software engineers, and how to not make data silos, basically? I
come to that in a second. Very good question. So that's the data product teams, basically. And that already part of the question is already answered on that because the tech teams, the tech people, the software engineers, both front end as well as back end developers or full stack developers, they are part of the product teams. So it's really interdisciplinary teams, right? When we are building a full stack pricing team, there's one backlog basically for that pricing tool, and it has a section on the analytical piece, it has a section on the front end, it has a section on the back end integration piece. So these people are part of the teams, and the CTO, they report in Vistaprint. These people report to the CTO because we said we don't want to create a second cohort of software engineers, but they are full-time staffed onto the data products. So that's the logic to be having there. And then, translator talked about it. There's one last profile which I find interesting. It's insights and visualization experts. That's in the end people who are really good at analyzing descriptive data and getting insights from descriptive data, descriptive analysis, backward-looking data, but also visualizing data, which is also, in my view, in my experience, super important to drive business outcomes. It's to have really good visualizations that help to address the business problem, right? It's not putting any KPI you can get onto a page, but it's really, again, going back to the business user and understanding what's the problem you want to solve. Okay, I give you this 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers, right? And not 800. I give you the 800 if you want to double click, and you can drill as deep as you like. But for your day-to-day operations, these 4 are the most important ones. So simplicity, right? Design thinking, and for that we're also running ethnographic research, having really experts there, observing people, how they use the products, how they interact with the products, to understand, hey, what's their current pain points, and again, you know, how can we build a simple, very simple solution to solve that product? Not a complex one, but a simple one. Okay, and that's now hopefully answering even more your question. That's how I am setting up my organization now, basically. I've talked about the 5 domains, right? And these domains are owning, that's the home of these data products. Yeah? So there's a domain lead for each of these domains. In the future, there might be even more domains. We already basically decided that we will create an additional domain, which is about internal, finance and HR products that help for better financial planning, better financial reporting, analytics in HR. And so this axis will evolve, but this is the axis where the domain lead sits, and each domain lead has around about 5-6 product owners in the team, and each of the product owners has a cross-functional team, basically. And in this cross-functional team, you will have domain experts. That's really people who know these domains. Again, for example, in the example of supply chain, it would be people who know how to do supply chain optimization, right? That would be a domain expert. Then we have a data science chapter. So in that chapter, basically all of the data scientists sit, and they are also fully staffed on these products. So for example, for pricing, we currently have 3 full-time data scientists working full-time on the pricing team. And their day-to-day steering and their day-to-day prioritization and their day-to-day work is really steered by the product owner in pricing and not by the data science chapter lead. But we said, hey, we want to have these people report to the data science chapter lead for 2 reasons. That we have somebody who really drives career development, career pathways, and also somebody who drives innovation into these products. You know, innovation on the methodologies. Yeah? So I'm currently hiring a head of the data science team. If you know somebody, let me know. By the way, we are hiring actually in all of these disciplines, so if you know somebody, let me know, of course. Who will really, who is really deep into methodologies and who can help the individual data scientists to, crack through problems, has a second eye on the models, and help them to drive innovation. I also, by the way, want to create an innovation lab in the data science chapter. And I just have to talk about it because I think it's really cool. At least the idea is cool. I don't know whether that works, but let's see. It's about having a couple of data scientists, like 4 or 5, all the time focused on running small-scale POCs in a very fast way. So if somebody from the business comes and says, hey, I have a problem, I have data, and I have time. Let's jointly run a project for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and see whether we can prove the value out of that data, and we can answer the business problem with the data. And I would really love to, run that in this kind of data science lab. Super fast, super hypothesis driven. Now, the second thing I want to run in the data science innovation lab is the data scientists there, they should be also, all of them should do that, but they should also look at the external market. What are new methods out there? What are new libraries we could use, new packages we could use, and how could we apply them to our internal products we already have? So how can we, make these products even better with better methodologies? So that's data science chapter. Then there's one chapter with insights and visualization people, and these are people basically who I already said, who are more building, running descriptive analysis, building dashboards. So for the pricing tool, we also need a dashboard, right? Where the pricing manager can look at it and see, hey, how is my pricing tool? What's my competitive position? How many prices did I change versus yesterday? How many prices up? How many down? What's the gross profit impact of that? And then again, data engineering, very important. data engineers will be full-time allocated to these data product teams and work hand in hand sitting next to data scientists and to the analytics people, to really make sure that they can work in an effective and also efficient way. So then finally, last but not least, I have a special task force team with the question about data governance, architecture, and technology, and they should really do these three things, right? So A is create a data governance infrastructure at Vistaprint. So basically data governance system, data governance body, right? So what are the different data domains? Who are responsible data stewards for each of the domains? What are their roles and responsibilities in these domains? For example, data cataloging. Which tools should they use to do that, right? So they should operate selected tools, like again, Colibra, for example, as a data cataloging tool, right? So it's not that they do all the work, but they set the standards, they drive the data governance basically throughout the organization, that in a year from now, we have hopefully at least 50, 60, 70% of our data cataloged and right away to use as the cook just opening the fridge and taking the stuff and putting it into the pot. Same goes with architecture, how our fundamental data flows across our systems. Do we need to change that? What's the top-notch architecture? How do we need to keep that in place? And I think I can already say we have invested a lot into our entire tech stack, and we're building a really, really cool fully API-based event-driven architecture, which is great for our e-commerce stack, and we can plug our data products into that, which is super. And then third thing is this technology stack. I think it's very important that I have somebody on my team who helps defining the data science workbench. So how does the tool environment for the data scientists and for the analytics people look like? What do we need to add there, right? How do we keep it up to date? What's the cool stuff we have out there? But then also, how does the deployment environments look like? What's the standardized way to put data science model into production, right? Can we just, spin up production environments? Do we have different sizes, small, medium, large, for different size of models, depending on the kind of demand of what the model needs, including a real-time streaming version for things like personalization on website, right? So we need to really think through and standardize and bring best practice into how do we deploy these models, and then how also do we run them over time? How do we, CI/CD continuous development of these models, basically. So then obviously on these data product teams, there are also external stakeholders, and they are not external, they're just external from my organization. They are the internal, most important, they are the business users, right? They are also really key part of building these problems, and for each of these products, I at least have 2 or 3 people from the business assigned to it that are working closely with the product owner to define the actual functionality, that we always make sure we build the right products. Okay, yeah.
So what's the total size of this organization?
Total size as of today is 140 people.
No, that's today expected.
Yeah, today 130, expected in 18 months, 250, 260.
Oh, just your.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that correlate with the total IT?
The total IT is around about, I think it's around about 600-700 people in tech, and overall we have 6,000 people. And if you look at, for example, companies like Wayfair, Wayfair has just alone 250 data scientists. So just in that chapter, they have 250 people, right? So that's a competitor. Wayfair is not a competitor. So luckily, it's not a competitor. Yeah. The good thing is our market is very fragmented. So we are by far number 1 globally. So we can really invest into that because we have enough revenue base. Our business is just large enough to invest into all of that, right? The other ones are much smaller, right? Wayfair is actually an online shop for furniture. Now where you can buy, a new bed or new kind of, everything you need for your home. Now, before I've almost come to an end. Before coming actually to the end, just a little bit how we operate and how we are kind of what our values, right? The habits you want to say. So we have defined a certain set of values. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna show them to you in a second. They're inspired again by top-notch e-commerce players. I think what apart from the values is very important is this customer centricity and MLP thinking. So I don't want to build a product without having the business problem defined. And that's what I've seen so many times in the past is, again, people start building up infrastructure things without having a clear use case for it. I've seen it so many times at McKinsey, like 5, 6, 7 years ago. Every one of my clients said, I gotta build a data lake. I will build a data lake. And I already have. And the more advanced clients, they told me, Basti, I already have built a data lake. Yeah? And then I asked them, okay, what are you using it? What are you doing with it? And they said, we're still figuring it out. Yeah? So we already are running 1 or 2 reports from the data lake. It's looking good. Yeah? How much did you invest? Yeah, 10 million. Yeah, okay, yeah. Probably you should have thought about what you want to use it before building it, right? Because by definition, it will be built for the wrong purpose. If you don't define the business problem first and don't have that customer centric thinking, right? You will build it wrong. That's for sure. Okay, cool. I already talked about so being so excited. I forgot that I have a slide about it. I talked about the innovation lab, where which I want to put into the data science chapter, and where I want to really kind of, do these 2 things, run the small POCs when the business comes there, wants to check something out, but also makes the products better with the latest stage innovations, which are out there in the field of data science. I also talked, I think not just 1 time, but already probably 10 times about this MVP thinking. Start with a small thing first and then add to it. Yeah, that I just have to show it to you. That's my favorite slide on that topic. That's obviously here. That's a traditional approach, right? Waterfall, 1 step after the other, right? A typical thing. And then when you build that, and that has happened at Vistaprint as well, the output is this here. That's the universal Swiss Army knife. It has 374 different tools integrated in the Army knife. Isn't that awesome, right? You can actually really, you can order it on Amazon. You can check out Amazon. There are fantastic product reviews. I think it costs 2,000 or 3,000 euros. It's really expensive. But I think it has one key issue. It has one really big issue. Yeah? Yeah, and you can't use it as a knife anymore, right? I mean, have you ever, if you have a piece of cheese and you need this to cut it there, probably it doesn't work, right? So it does not anymore work as a knife. And I've seen, again, that so often. People lock themselves in a room, waterfall, and the outcome is that it's not usable by the business. Yeah? So therefore, again, I really want to drive this with the entire team, thinking in these MLPs, minimum likable product, right? So the first version of a Swiss Army knife should be actually just the knife. And that already solves the problem of 80% of our users, because it can cut, which is the key use case for a freaking knife, right? And then, once we solve that use case, we can beautifully add more functions to it, as many as we need, as many as is still usable, right? But the first big value drop, first big value increment is already there with the first MLP release. And that's what I want to drive. And that's now, the key thing is, you do all that stuff in parallel. You go in small slices, but end to end. And then you add to it. You do the same over again. And you test it, refine it. So basically, sorry for saying that 10 times, but it's just so important to myself. And it's like really, that's one key thing I want to drive through Vistaprint. Now, having said all of that, I want to close with a more picture-like version of my vision. Many people talk of data being the new oil. And if you think about it for a second, it's actually really bad. Because what is oil? You need big machines to extract it from the ground. It's very hard to get out. There are even worse things like fracking, right? Where you pressure things in this 200 bar hot water and chemicals. It's really hard to extract, right? It's very costly to refine, right? I mean, these refineries, these big machines, these big plants that blow up from time to time, right? Really, it's complicated, costly. It's also costly to transport and store, right? Whenever, I don't know whether you ever traded with oil, it's freaking expensive, right? If you are if you bought oil and you sit on it, it's like you have to pay a monthly fee to store it in a freaking container, right? It's really expensive. And you can only use, specialized machines to treat it, to use it, and it can be super toxic if it is used incorrectly, right? So therefore, what my vision really is to get to that industry-leading company, to that industry-leading data and analytics-driven e-commerce company, I would ask to treat data like water. Because water is easy to consume. Water gives life. You can share water with everybody. You can provide it in volume, in gallons. And you don't need to, not by the gallon, not by a thing, but you have a hose of water, right? It's inexpensive to transport and to store. It can be used in many, many different ways. In the end, and I want to end with that, it should be consumable by all who need it. It should create life. So that's my vision for Vistaprint. Thank you so much.
Do you believe in principles of superpositions of new features of the product in machine learning? If the machine learning is not linear regression?
Yeah, I think I think yes. Yeah, I think so. I think there are great things we should look into, and I have to say I'm not the deepest machine learning expert, right? So I don't know any new technique out there in the field. Therefore, I want to hire a data scientist who is really deep there and understands everything. But I do believe in the advances absolutely of machine learning, and it has been on an exponential track, right, in terms of development. What you can see, I have another page, I haven't put it in, where you can actually see how much data is nowadays produced or run through machine learning algorithms, and it's also an exponential scale. And that's also because just the actual machine learning algorithm has become so much better. So I fully believe in the future of machine learning, and I fully believe into it. Do I think we should solve every problem with machine learning right away? I would say no, because I think an approach to solve business problems with data, I believe in, is also to start crawling before walking, before running, right? So if I'm super basic at something, like, for example, if I think back 1 year, right, the Vistaprint pricing team that was there sitting manually changing the prices in an Excel sheet, right? Would it help them to have the latest and greatest machine learning model? Probably not, right? What they would need as a first step is some kind of an automation, a simple model that, is a scoring model that helps them to pull in the competitor data and align their prices into a business-driven logic to come up with more reasonable and sensible prices. Once they started crawling and walking, then you can start getting more sophisticated and adding these things on top. So short answer is yes, I do believe in it, but I would really try to dose it and see where it makes sense. I would not apply it to every area.
I saw there Swiss knife has many functionalities, but if you start with better features for machine learning, you have to restart all your projects.
But I think that's, agree. But I think that's also from time to time what will happen by nature, right? Because you will, over time, I don't want to spend 1 year just feature engineering before we build an MLP or an MVP. I want to have an MVP in 2 or 3 months, right? So that means we cannot, and I didn't want to say, we should use all, AI for the feature creation and for the feature curation, right? Fully agree, it makes us more efficient, more better. But I think what will naturally happen is that if we build an MVP after 3 months and we start to scale it, then at some point in time we will discover a new feature which will be available to us, which will make the model better. That's why I also see these product teams, which I've shown, very much as continuous delivery teams, right? So there will be teams that will be there for the next 1, 2, 3 years and further building out the model, further refining it, further kind of adding to it. I think that's a natural thing. I think it's never going to be finished. I mean, there are some products probably that we can finish and that come to an end, and we say, hey, now this is fully developed, it goes into production, and we don't need to further add to it. but I think that's only a small part of the products. Many of them, I think, will need to be evolved further.
So you showed a picture of how will look the operational model of your sub-organization.
Yeah.
How do you plan to integrate the data architecture team with the organization of Vistaprint, and how will they cooperate?
Yeah. So the head of the data, very good question. It seems that you know Vistaprint a little bit, maybe at least a little bit. So the head of the data, the team that builds the basic data infrastructure, we call it our data tribes basically, or data tribe. They build a fundamental data platform, so which is everything basically until that stage where you ingest all the data into one data warehouse. So that's the data platform basically. That person who is responsible for doing it, first of all, sits on my leadership team as well. So it's in the end one leadership team, and that person will jointly work on the backlog and define the infrastructure, the architecture for that layer. So then secondly, that person will send the data engineers, because all of the data engineers I've showed you in my picture also are solid line reporting into that person. They will be working on the data product teams, where the data product owners will define the backlog. So the day-to-day steering for the actual data products will go through the data product organizations, so data product owners, but the coaching for the data engineers, the coaching how the platform works, the best practice way of how to build data pipes, that will be all curated within that chapter, within the data tribes, so that they are building a consistent best practice way of doing it. That's how we integrate it. Any other questions? Yeah.
What will be the biggest change in this presentation in the next 1 or 2 years?
So I think, good question. I think the domains might look different and they will evolve over time. So I would assume that probably in a year from now we'll have, instead of 5 domains, maybe 7, 8 domains, and these 5, some of them might have merged into one domain, because as we are building these data products, we might discover, hey, there's a bigger theme, right? There's a bigger underlying model we need to build it. So I think the main thing that will change is that that domain map, because that's a living thing in my view. And I think obviously, hopefully, and I didn't show you any of it, I think in 1 year from now I will have impact numbers in there, right? In that presentation, in terms of, that's the specific impact we created for our customers in terms of NPS uplift, in terms of customer satisfaction uplift, but also in terms of contribution profit for our company. So there will be a new slide added to it. Any other questions? If there are no more questions, you can just open up the round, get some food, get some drinks. I'll also be around for questions. I would just say thanks so much for your for coming here, and thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for all your questions and for all your engagements. It's been really exciting. That's kind of, to be honest, I have to say, my first external presentation as the CDO of Vistaprint. So you're kind of almost like the guinea pigs to test it. I hope you liked it. If you have feedback for me on how to do that even better, please let me know. I would be also really happy. And again, I don't want to be kind of commercial in any terms. If you know people, building our team, also building our team here in Prague over the next 12 to 18 months. If you kind of, it's a network. So if you know people who are interested, just point them to me or to my colleagues. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Basti. Thanks for your insights, and it was very, very good. We've got some pizza here, so if you want to stay for a chat, some more questions for Basti you can think of, please feel free. Thank you.